family affair, these Guardians movies. James, your brother, writes and directs. Is this something that the two of you always did growing up?
Sort of, yeah. We're all, there's 6 of us in my family, and we all have a creative lean, as it were. And James started directing me and stuff when we were super little, and we've always worked on things when we could over the years.
So you play Rocket Raccoon, you do the motion capture, you also voice him in this movie as young Rocket. Talk to me a little bit about the emotional, arc that this character goes on in this movie.
Well, it's been an interesting experience for me with Rocket because it takes a team of people to create Rocket, and I'm one member of that team, but I've done it for 6 movies now, so I feel such a kinship with the character, and almost like in some ways I'm a steward of the character because I know how much James relates to Rocket and how James sees himself in Rocket more than any of the other characters. And so with this movie, going into his backstory, it was definitely a very, very emotional experience. And some of the work was much different than it had ever been. When we were shooting some of those scenes, I didn't know that they would end up using my voice as young Rocket, but they did for like a segment of his past, which is really cool. It's really gratifying, but it's just like kind of part of the puzzle, you know.
So when did you start to see him emerge as the center of the story?
I think I've known it all along, honestly. I mean, I knew Rocket's backstory from the first movie because James shared it with me. So I knew, all the things that the audience is seeing now in 2023 are things that James told me about in probably 2013. So I've been kind of living with Rocket's story for a long time, and knowing that his backstory is the center of this movie is something that I was sort of expected. And then I first read this script a lot of years ago, and it's stayed pretty close to what it was.
So you also play Kraglin, who's part of the Guardians now. What about his arc that he's gone on over the course of these movies?
Kraglin's arc has been nuts. I mean, in the first movie when we see Kraglin, he's sort of a peripheral character. He's Yondu's first mate, sidekick essentially. He's behind him. I didn't know a lot about Kraglin when we did the first movie. We were kind of trying to piece it together, and then I learned it. From seeing it and from doing it. And then in the second movie, all of a sudden, Kraglin starts to come into view and his friends die on the ship and all these things. And by the third movie, you start to realize, oh, this is the parable of the prodigal son. And Kraglin is the son who stayed. Quill is the son who leaves and he's welcomed back by his father. And Kraglin's journey is, what about me? I've been over here by myself. And the whole thing has been so cool to kind of roll my sleeves up and dig into as an actor and figure out what is my place here? What's my place in the family? What's my place, within the Guardians? What's my responsibility? And it's just been awesome.
Who's got a better whistle, you or Michael Rooker?
Okay, Rooker's whistle is a little better than mine is. I'm going to give him that. But it's not as good as he thinks it is. So I'm not sure how to reconcile those answers. But I'll give it to him that it's a little better than mine.
Okay, so the High Evolutionary, he's the main villain in this. Wow, people are really not going to like this guy.
Yeah.
What did you think of that choice?
I love it. It's such an interesting character, and not that you need to single any of them out, but Chakotay's performance as High Evolutionary is maybe my favorite in the entire film. I think he's just a magnificent villain, but fully realized and really just played beautifully. But no, he's not a good guy, and we're it's it's a lot. He's a lot.
I think Yondu would want you to have it.
Thanks, Captain.